an Asian business exhibition and conferences event.
Welcome back. You're watching ED Insight. Many Indian companies have grown their brands by franchising. But the real potential of this opportunity has still not been tapped in a big way. That's because the industry is still hunting for the right business model, grappling with high costs, regulatory hurdles and poor infrastructure. Asha Gopalakrishnan has more.
From a distance, franchising may seem like it can be anyone's playground, but it's no child's play. That's because tying up with a reputed brand is not where the matter ends.
You have to approach the government department for various permissions. It could be from the police department for the traffic regulations, from the fire department because it's concerning a lot of kids. You should have an NOC from them, should have an NOC from the Maharashtra government saying yes, they have no objection in you starting a school, from the education board which says a school is required in this area, it's a need of this area.
In fact, it is just the beginning of a long-drawn process of creating a successful business. Managing investments right is the key because the franchisee spends for almost everything from inventory to equipment, premises, professional fees, franchise fees and royalty to advertising. Typically, a person taking up a franchise has two major costs, franchise fees and rentals. For getting the franchise rights, one needs to pay an upfront licensing fee and thereafter pay royalty as a percentage of gross sales along with an additional 2 to 5% as a national advertising and brand building fee. Next in line is real estate, which accounts for the largest chunk of operating costs. And that's where the problem is for both franchisor and franchisee.
We've seen property prices rise up, hence the expectation on the rental yield also has gone up. So it becomes very, very tough, to make business profitable. Rent is a very, very serious issue. It's quite high in India.
To give you an example, I bought my company bought the Pali Hill School, the Kangaroo Kids, years and years ago. If I was to buy that school today, I could never be running the school in the same format that I am. Because the cost of real estate has gone, 8 times as much as when I purchased the place. So yeah, we're all not only in education, everyone's grappling with this cost of land per se.
Sure, everyone is. Take for instance the case of the most common franchisees in a mall: apparel, footwear, and jewelry. According to Franchise India, an apparel store in a mall of about 300 to 400 square feet needs an investment of 20 to 50 lakh rupees. At an average rate of returns of 15 to 30% per annum, the average payback period is 2 to 3 years. A footwear franchise of 400 to 1000 square feet in a high street setup with an investment of 10 to 40 lakh rupees gives a return of 15% and has a payback period of 1 to 3 years. And a jewelry franchise of 100 to 500 square feet in a high street costs 1 crore rupees, offers returns of 27% and the payback period is about 3 to 4 years. The location is important because footfalls is what drives business and helps control inventory from piling up.
There is no such thing known as you can sell a product from anywhere and do any amount of business, because every business has a potential for every location. So it's going to be an evaluation of the location for which you will decide whether the real estate can sustain it.
In the recent past, many brands have gone wrong with their locations. For instance, brands like Nike and Adidas relocated their stores from lackluster malls to malls with higher footfalls in some cities. And Cookie Man and Chinese fast food chain Yo China operate only in malls with more than 10,000 footfalls on an average day.
It's always easier if the franchisee owns the place, because then his returns on investment is much higher than he would have normally with a rented out place. The challenge is not finding the franchisee, challenge is getting him the right location.
But even if one does get the right location and the right franchisee, there is no guarantee that there will be no leakages in the supply chain, particularly in the case of product businesses. Experts say that both franchisors and franchisees do not invest enough to plug this loophole. That leads to a rise in error, theft and wastage, which further eats into the net margins and makes the business unviable.
What's critical is the cost of inventory for us. which becomes extremely high if you're not able to manage inventory levels at the last mile.
The biggest risk, though, is maintaining quality. And this is where most Indian franchisees fail. Although the franchisee understands the local business requirements, the labor employed is incompetent to match high standards. This issue gets even more pronounced in the food and beverage industry, as products here are not transferable, and hence franchisees are given the responsibility to prepare the food that is supplied at the outlet.
Because the last mile value add is very, very high within the store, to sub-franchise means you are letting the whole operational process to somebody else who may not be as sensitive to the whole process. And given the standards which we follow globally, international standards, great manufacturing practices, we just couldn't have sublet it to another person.
It's very unlike where you get a ready-made product which is in your shop and you just pass it on. In this case, you get normally a raw product or a semi-cooked product, and then you're supposed to actually look after issues like food safety. You have to look after issues like food hygiene, the hygiene, where you prepare these things. You've got to look after those people who are going to prepare them, make sure that the hygiene levels and standards are kept, and then pass it on to the consumer.
One of the key challenges of franchising is the controls, and how do you make sure that the quality control in all the different franchise locations that you have across the country, that you offer a standard service, in our case a standard education package, a preschool education package.
Partners play a very significant part in the success, because if they come into the business for the wrong reasons, then it's very unlikely that quality gets maintained. We need to have an alignment of the vision. We need to have a common objective. We should be in the business for the same reasons.
What makes matters worse is the fact that India does not have a consolidated franchise-specific legislation. In fact, this industry is covered by various regulations, including the Indian Contract Act 1872, the Competition Act 2002, the Trademarks Act 1999, the Copyright Act 1957, the Consumer Protection Act 1986, and the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. But these laws just act as a reference for franchising in India, which makes the need for an overarching regulation or a regulatory body the need of the hour.
Of the thousands of franchise companies that will emerge in India, 80% of them really won't be that successful because they've taken shortcuts and have built their business on trying to sell franchises rather than trying to select quality franchisees and establish profitable businesses one by one.
We don't have a legal framework which is robust, which can support a franchisee more than a franchisor. So if I'm more confident that if this franchisor does wrong to me, and if he doesn't obey to the terms and conditions laid in the contract, I'm safe, and I've got courts to go to, and they'll respond very, very quickly.
That's perhaps what makes the business of franchising a tricky one.
To be fair, India is not the only place saddled with these issues. Many developed markets had similar teething problems, which were ironed out eventually due to a better regulatory mechanism. India could follow suit.
The other reason why franchising can't be written off in India is that it's emerging as the biggest driver of entrepreneurial growth in the country. We'll bring you some success stories on the other side of this break. Don't go away.